Hey, good morning. Good morning. Good morning. It is Friday. Thank God it's Friday, right? What was that? There was a restaurant that reminded me of that. Let me think. I think it was TGIF. Thank goodness or thank God it's Friday, right? And isn't it interesting that we get in a situation where we set our life up and we get into these patterns, the Monday to Friday, 8 to 5, that model that's kind of like out the window now. Patterns show up in a lot of stuff, right? And when they show up in our money, our financial life, what happens is oftentimes we can feel like we're getting stuck. And so that's kind of what we're doing here. So welcome this morning. Thank you. My name is James Harnsberger, and this is getting started so we can get past being stuck financially. We spent the week talking a little bit about modes of time and modes of money. And we decided that we're going to work with 5 modes of time, 5 modes of money. Remember that saying? It's an idiom. Time is money, money's time, right? And so what we're going to do this morning is sort of pull this together, give you a little bit of a hack, and then give you something that you can do preliminarily on the 2 exercises, right? We've got 2 exercises that we're running here, experiments, right? And what we're going to be doing and what we have been doing is collecting receipts or making notes for any time we spend money more than $1, and we put it in an envelope. Just do that. Keep doing what you do. And then for the time, we were writing down in a little notepad or maybe a little journal, right? Every hour we would stop our little device thing. The ship goes off and a little bell goes off, and, we go down and we write down what we did the last hour. So let me pull those 2 parts together right now. And then you can work on this today if you've been doing the little experiment. With regard to the receipts, and if you're doing this for the whole month of March, just keep doing this, but you can stop and take a break today or over the weekend and kind of just check it out. What you're going to do is you're going to take them all out and you're going to organize them into 2 piles, right? You're going to look at the receipt, what you spent the money for, right? And you're going to put it in a pile that's either going to be marked as needed, necessary, right? This was necessary, I needed it. Or wanted, discretionary. This is something I wanted. And so if you go back and remember, we talked about an example I gave you. I think it was John and Mrs. John, Deborah, right? And John got confused and told his brain that he needed to go to Wendy's and get 2, not 1, 2 chocolate Frosties, right? And so when he did this experiment, and I think we went 90 days, and we discovered that 53 of the 90 days, John had been confused that he needed 2 chocolate Frosties. And Mrs. John, Deborah, was getting all kinds of shit about, once a month she'd go to, like, I think it was Macy's. It was Macy's or Nordy's, one of those stores, right? And she'd get a little outfit or a little, whatever chicks buy at Macy's and Nordy's, right? She went and got one of those. And so what happened was he was like throwing her under the bus, right? About her spending at the store, at the department store. And so when this revelation came out, man, she took off like a rocket. She was wound up like a French drum. And boy, did the fireworks go off in our office that day. I'll never forget that. And she read him the riot act. Because 2 chocolate Frosties for 53 days out of 90 was, I don't know. Maybe it's over the top, I guess. I don't know. But anyway, that little experiment, and the experiment that you're doing right now, is to really sort these receipts out into 2 groups. Is it necessary or discretionary? If it's necessary, it's something that you needed. And so don't get confused. You need food, but chocolate frosties are not a food group, right? It's not a food group. He got confused. Something that you wanted. Look, it doesn't matter. It's no judgment here. We're just trying to figure shit out, right? And so, did the shit that you got from Amazon, was that something that you needed, right? Or was it something that you wanted? And it's okay. Either way is okay. There's no good, bad, right, or wrong. It's that shit gets in our brain, and it's just we go off the rails. So don't do that. We just want to know where the money went to something that was needed or something that was wanted. And then we're going to kind of measure that, right? And in terms of your time, you can stop today if you want and keep going if you'd like, because there's more to this. Just go back and mark each of those times. You've been doing this for a couple of days, so it should take you less than 30 minutes to do this. And you're going to mark it with either each time frame, you're going to mark with a P or an N. The P would be that was time that was productive. You were doing something productive, something that was making time for making money, time for spending on work, time for saving, time for money or investing time, reading, learning, or wasting time, or, wasting time maybe might be a little bit of a harsh word, but it's just like if you're just sitting there doing a bunch of shit and nothing's happening, I don't know. In my life, I call that wasting time. So find a label for it that works and then do that. So you just want to know how much of those time frames that you kept track of were productive, you were going somewhere defined, or non-productive, you thought you were going somewhere, but you're like the hamster on the wheel, right? Not the dead one, just the live one. You're on the wheel and you're going and doing, and man, I'm just moving like shit here, blah, blah, blah. And at the end of the day, you went nowhere, right? I've had those days. Man, I hate those days. So we just want to know if the time was allocated for something productive or something non-productive to get us where we wanted to be in the next hour or at the end of the day, right? And so the way this works is you're going to be able to put these things together today, and then over the weekend, just kind of stay with it. You're probably going to get a little irritated, frustrated. You might get pissed off. Just those are emotions. So just get in an emotional state and just be neutral. When you say something's good, then something else has to be bad. When you say someone is nice, someone else has to be not nice, right? How we frame shit really works against us if we're not careful. So let's try to be neutral. Let's look at it objectively and just take it in as information that we're going to organize into data. And then we're going to analyze it going into next week. And we'll have another way to take that information and do another step in this process that we call getting started, right? Because we don't want to be stuck, right? That's the whole point here. The whole point is we don't want to be stuck financially. And remember when we were talking about the modes of money, we could be making money, we could be spending money, we could be saving money, investing money, or wasting money. Well, time works the same way. We could be making time for something, we're spending time on something, saving time to do something, investing time on something, or wasting time. And so they sort of work together because they're linked, right? Money and time. Time is money and money is time. This whole thing about the network society, look, I got two of these son of a bitches, right? I got two of these things. And it drives me up the wall. And then what happens is they both start going off and it's like, God, which one do I go, right? And how did I get to the place? I made a choice to have two, right? One for personal, one for business. And what happens is you end up getting sucked into the vortex of being more tied to the network, right? And so when you're doing a purchase of something and you're putting it on auto pay or auto ship, what you're doing is you're separating. You're disconnecting your engagement with your money. it's not good or bad, but if it's not working for you, you might want to consider looking at that and find a more effective way. Auto ship and auto pay are good if you're engaged. I think they're good and they work good if you're engaged, but they're not set up to be engaged. What they're generally set up to do is like when they tell you, don't worry about it. It's going to be easy. You don't even have to think about it. It'll just come out every month. It'll be fine, and you don't have to think about it, right? That is just like crazy talk, because what they're saying is you don't have to think about your money. We got it. Literally, we got it. Like the penny stock thing. Remember the penny stock? You take $1 and you invest it in penny stock and you end up with a penny, because that's how penny stocks are set up. So if we don't understand how shit's set up, then it's going to work against us. What I'm trying to do now is trying to share with you all the experience I went through back in the day, and experiences that people have gone through to transform this, flip it around, and take back what is yours, your time and your money. We came up with another way of looking at it, and that was the auto keep system. So when money comes in, automatically keep some of it, and then whatever is left, we can work with that, and it can, and then we tell it where to go, so we don't have to ask where the hell it went, right? They call it a budget. I call it, tell your money where to go, and then it doesn't get confused. And so what we're doing now is we're kind of bringing this a little bit tighter. I'm going to be working with the group tomorrow afternoon. I'm really excited because I've got a little thing about how to tickle your brain, the amygdala. And what's really cool about the amygdala is how much power it has in your life. And it sits in your brain. There's one on each side, right around the ear here somewhere, and they're about that big. But boy, do they have a lot of horsepower in how you frame things and how you set things. And that's why I think it's always important to remember to take a measure before you start getting engaged in something at what state you're in emotionally. Remember, we went through that exercise to measure your GPS and figure out what state emotionally you're in. Because how you frame things and how you communicate. You ever have a conversation with yourself and then you think, God, where did that shit come from in my brain? How did I come up with that thought, right? I've had shit like that pop into my brain. It's like, what the hell was that, right? That's your brain, just like having a martini on the beach. It's not doing much right now. You got to give it something to do and tell it where to go and what to do, right? Otherwise, it's going to just sit there and have a martini and wait for the sun to set or something. And what we want to do is we want to be a little bit more engaged. We want to tell our brain what to do. Brain, pay attention. I'm getting ready to put something in my mouth called nutrition. Chocolate Frosties are needed. No, they're not needed, and it's not a food group, so don't get confused. John got confused, and Mrs. John was pissed when that came out, boy. Deborah, and boy, she took off like a rocket. I'll never. People down the hall in our building heard her. I mean, seriously, she was pissed, and because he was throwing her under the bus, dude. I mean, come on, that's your wife. Give me a break. So anyway, he got confused. John, Mrs. John, Deborah was not confused. 2 chocolate Frosties was not needed. It was wanted. And it was beyond wanted because it had turned into an addiction. That's not a judgment as much as it is an observation. I mean, dude, look, it's 90 days in a time frame, and 53 of those days, you are in a drive-through getting a double fist of chocolate Frosty, right? And so that's beyond a pattern, and that's beyond a routine. It's now an addiction because you kept telling your brain, I need to go get chocolate Frosty. I need to go buy shoes. I need to, whatever, right? Shoes are necessary and needed, I guess. But when you buy like 65 pair of them in a month, true story, 65 pair in 1 month, you got to ask a different question. And most of them still, the box still had the original tag on it. Real story, true client case, and just it was just like, wow. All I could say is that's a lot of shoes, dude. Just a lot of shoes. And what we're trying to do now is figure out what our routine is with our money, and then look beyond that and below that to start identifying patterns. So let me tell you a little bit about patterns, because this is kind of cool. And when I share with the group tomorrow, right here on the screen, the scroll, right? When I share with the group tomorrow about this powerful part of the brain, the amygdala, and how much how much just power it has in your life. It's sort of like this guy that does brain research. He's somebody that I follow a lot, and read a lot of stuff, and it's I think he calls it tickling your amygdala. What he's talking about is how we frame stuff in our mind. And it's sort of like my old saying that I have that people hear me say often is, you get what you think about, whether you want it or not. So you've got to be a little bit mindful about what you think about, because you'll get whatever you think about, whether you want it or not. You just sort of frame shit that way, in a way, and how you put labels on stuff and how you frame stuff is really based on our experiences in life. And if we've had negative experiences with our money and finances, chances are pretty good the patterns are going to show up where you can identify that and then flip that and reframe that. Sort of like auto pay or auto keep. Now it's a choice. Do I want to auto pay something, or do I want to auto keep something? I'm choosing, for me, I set it up where I'm going to do more of the auto keep shit, because that works for me. I don't really care about them. Not that I don't care. I guess I'm just indifferent, right? I care about everybody, but I'm just indifferent. It's like, dude, it's my money, right? And so what I want to do is give you a tool today on framing. Framing, it works like this. Think of a picture on a wall in a museum, right? You've been to a museum, or you've seen artwork or whatever, and there's a frame generally around some of the older works, and they would spend, the art and craftsmanship of the frame was as serious as the painting that it held, right? The old artisans would do this all by hand, and it's kind of cool when you can watch how that process works. And the reason is because every frame was as unique as the painting that it held. And there was back in the day, there was a time when the craftsmanship was such that people would be in apprenticeships for like 10 years or 20 years to learn that craft and that trade. Today, it's just hook up, wire up, and we're good to go, right? I don't know if we're going too fast, but sometimes I feel like, you ever get a day where you're like, God, where'd the day go, right? It's time is time, right? But relative to our experience and how we frame the day, generally ends up being how the day turns out. And it works that way with your money. So if you're telling yourself, like we had this client back in the day, and her deal was the shopping network. Oh my God. Wow. Jeezo Bezo. Man, I could not imagine. Where in the hell did you put all that shit? Man, because she had, like, I'm serious, a stack of receipts that were just like out of the world. I guess that works, but then, they had this huge tax problem, and they weren't paying the taxes. But now we figured out where the pattern was that caused the taxes not to be paid. It went to the shopping network, and you can't tell the IRS to go there to get the money, because it's your tax, right? And so that got to a point where she really believed she needed to do that. She had convinced her brain that she needed to, from like one point in the day to like a long time later in the day, she needed to be there or she would miss something. That's how she framed it. And so it turned into once in a while to like, there's no break. It's like constant, 7 days a week, always on the shopping network. And this happens in little drops of water, like, you finally get a bucket, right? And then the bucket's overflowing on you. Well, that's kind of how your money works. And so we're looking for the routine, and then the routine will let us discover the pattern, and the pattern will allow us to figure out how we're confusing need and want, or productive and non-productive, so that we can reframe. That's all we're talking about. Is just maybe we're doing the same thing, but we're reframing it in a way that's more advantageous to your desire. And your desire is to have a financial life where you can have everything that you want and desire, right? And set your life up that way. And so this process is really a couple of steps on the journey to kind of, sort of, if you would take it this way, just evaluating and assessing. So we sort of, at the end of that process step, we know where we're at. And the cool thing about knowing where you're at is then you can really decide and determine where you want to be and get there much faster. If you don't know where you're at, you're certainly going to have challenges of figuring out where you want to be and how to get there. And so transforming your financial life is a lot about how we frame shit. And then we spend something, and then you ever buy something? So, I can remember back in the day, oh my God, you buy some shit that, it gets delivered or whatever, and then it comes and it arrives. And then, even like sometimes before it would arrive, right? You start thinking, why did I buy that? Right. And I can't get a refund, right? It's like, God, what was I thinking? Right. I can't tell you how many times I did that. And it was just like, then I had all this shit that just, some of that stuff, I didn't even open the package, right? And what happened was, when I got to the point and this all crashed and burned, and then I figured out, well, how did I get here? Well, that was a stupid question. I know exactly how I got here, but I had to kind of reconstruct, sort of like a dead body. You have to kind of do an autopsy and figure out why the body died, right? Like the guys that walked off the cliff, right? They're looking for somebody. Thank you for the little post. Pokemon, that deal with the Pokemon and the phone, right? We're going we're over in La Jolla at the cliffs where the paragliders go. And these two guys, it's like they're looking for Pokemon, which is not even real. And they walk off the cliff. Didn't your mother tell you to pay attention? My God. And then there was another one. This was here in San Diego, Balboa Park. Beautiful. Love Balboa Park. Right there over by the zoo. And some gal, it was in the news, and I was reading the news, some gal's walking backward with a stick and the phone and the thing, doing something, and people are standing around watching, and she walked backwards, fell into the fountain. Nobody said anything. Everybody's sitting there waiting for her to do this, I guess. It's just mean. That's just mean. And I'm thinking, how does that even work? It's like, God, we're not even paying attention to paying attention. And the same thing kind of happens with our money. I kind of make light of it a little bit because actually some of this shit's kind of funny. It's dying is not funny. But it's just like, I can't imagine how this shit that happened. Your mother had to have told you at least once, pay attention, and you didn't. So anyway, making time, spending time, saving time, investing time, and wasting time are like money. We can make money, spend money, save money, invest money, and waste money. And they're tied together. And how we frame it is how you engage with it in the state that you're in. So here's the hack. Whenever you're dealing with your money, where it's coming in and coming out, pay attention to how you feel emotionally. It's a big clue. It's really important. I'll give you more in the group on Saturday how to really do this, because you're going to be doing a little quiz that's loaded up there on the site right here. And that quiz is going to help you find the key. And I'm going to tell you serious shit here now. Pay attention. This key is critical. It is so important, because once you have the key, here's a couple of things that are cool. Nobody can ever take it away from you. You always will have it. And it will always tell you what state you're in emotionally when it comes to your money. I'm not saying that you're in a bad state or a good state. I'm just saying check in with yourself and understand the state that you're in emotionally, because that's one of the patterns, and that pattern can make you gazillions of dollars, or that pattern can keep you poor for the rest of your life on auto poor. And I believe that every human being is born perfectly and makes perfect choices at the time that they make the choices with the information that they had. But they may have needed more information. Maybe they need more help. Maybe they need more time. Maybe they, there's a lot of shit that variables that go in there. But once you have this, it's new knowledge. And what's cool about new knowledge is it's empowering. And it seizes the moment, stakes your claim, and says, that's it. That's non-negotiable. This is my money, my life, non-negotiable. I'm going to start being engaged, and I'm going to check in before I bring money in or let money go out. At least I have an awareness. That alone is such a shift in a paradigm that it will just rock your world, seriously rock your world. And you will start seeing almost instantaneous the outcomes and the results that come out of this. In the nearly 40 years that I've been in practice and have helped families struggle with these big. I mean, we had one family. Oh my God! It's like, how do you even get to the point where you owe the IRS $3.2 million? And it's like it took 30 months to solve that. And Alan was a great help on my partner. Alan was a great help on that. We solved it, and we got rid of all of it. And we actually got back about $200,000 that the IRS took from them. But it took 30 months, and it was brutal. It was, man, talk about a knife fight. I mean, that reminded me when I was growing up in the hood, and it was just like when you get in a fight after school, it's just like, God, oh, here we go again, right? And that's kind of what it was, just lots of emotion. And the same kind of patterns were showing up that sort of resulted in this not paying attention thing. And it's not really about paying attention. It's just about being engaged. If you're engaged, you're not walking off the cliff in La Jolla. If you're engaged, you're not falling in the fountain over at Balboa Park. If you're engaged, you're not going to Frosty, getting confused with 2 fistful of Frosties, shoving those down your pie hole, telling your brain that you need 2 Frosties. If you're engaged, right? So that's all I'm saying. I'm not judging it. I'm just making an observation, because now you need a cardiologist. And those I think those people, those men and women are like real expensive. And your heart is like, your heart. So we want to get really focused now. And on the receipts, was it necessary or discretionary? In other words, did I need it or want it? And the time, was it productive or non-productive? That's it, done. And then on the group, I'll let you know how to take the next step. And once we have the routine, once we understand the routine, we're going to start looking for the patterns. And what's cool about the patterns is then we'll have the keys. And each of these patterns has a key to unlock it and flip it to your advantage. And it's a little hint, so pay attention. Your emotional state when you engage with money is critical, because it will determine the outcome. And what we want to do is give you a tool tomorrow. Those of you that are in the group and joining me for this month on this journey, I'm going to give that to you tomorrow, because once you have it, and it has something to do with your amygdala and a little hack that you can, I think he calls it tickle the amygdala. And it's so powerful that you will absolutely notice a distinct difference of engagement with your money. And you can actually apply this to your health, to your environment, to your relationships, your friendships. Fortunately, John and Mrs. John, Deborah, it all worked out, and they're happy, lived happily ever after, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. I mean, but it worked out, and the problem was gone, and they're even today, they're in a much better position than they were back in the day. And I think he's a lot healthier now. He understands chocolate Frosty is not a food group, and don't tell your brain you need one. So anyway, happy Friday. If you're watching the video and you're getting anything out of it, that's cool. Look, I also wanted to throw this out there. Let me just change something real quick here and put this little scroll banner up here. Hold on just a second. Let me scroll this. There's my email. And here's kind of, I want to do something kind of cool next week. If you've got an idea on anything that we're talking about, or even shit that we're not talking about, if you got an idea and you want me to kind of do something about that on one of the podcasts, shoot that to an email to me. I'm pulling a couple of articles over the weekend right now and going to read through them on stuff that we're talking about because I think they're important. And some of the stuff that I'm posting up in the group is kind of important. If you're reading it, they're little clues. They're like little cookies, along the way to. I don't put shit up there for no reason. There's a reason I put it up there. If you're reading it and you're engaged, you're paying attention, and some of you are hitting a cash register pretty hard. And so I want you to understand that there's a purpose for everything, at least the way I've set things up. I have very little time. I have no spare change and I have no spare time. That's kind of how I set shit up. And doesn't mean that I don't have charities that we believe in and that we support and things like that. But when somebody says, hey, you got a spare dollar? No, all my dollars are they're busy. They're doing shit right now. Do you have some spare time? No, all my time's accounted for. You can make an appointment. That's kind of how I'm talking about how you frame shit, right? And so let's get on the auto keep system because it works better for what you desire. And, have a chocolate frosty once in a while, right? That's cool. If you're going to La Jolla to the cliffs, just stay 50 feet back from the edge and don't look for Pokemon because he ain't there. That wasn't even real. That's what really, I just don't get that. It wasn't even real. God, pay attention. Jeez. All right. Have an awesome day. Take care. Hit me if you need me. Send me some ideas. I love the ideas and the feedback is great, guys. Take care. Have an awesome weekend.